if we can get going and cover a few things here today. Thanks for those being here. The first thing I would say before we discuss homework, inputs, and concerns is I would say look around the room. If you know somebody, like Laura obviously's office is 1 block from mine, and I'm just going to go by and visit with Laura and make sure. But let's reach out to our committee members. And we were talking before the meeting got started. Probably you get out there to the end and we start making some decisions. My tolerance of listening to somebody that didn't come any probably is going to go way down. So, and I'd love to listen to everybody. So let's get them here and get the dialogues going. But if you know a committee member that's we all going to have to miss one here and there. Some going to have to leave early every now and then, those kind of things. I get that. But gosh, we all kind of committed to this. So let's try to see if we can make something happen there. Homework. Anybody go anywhere, any place neat? Ann, you went to town.
I did. I went to Mexico, to this little town.
You travel more than, it's stunning to me.
Yeah, and I don't like to travel. I just happen to have kids that go all of the, everywhere. So I go where you see kids. But it was just, it was a little Mexican town. It was old. It was little cobblestone streets, narrow. People walking, cars. I don't know how people were getting hit all the time. But it was just so full of life, little shops everywhere. You wouldn't have to go anywhere to buy anything you needed. There's people selling stuff all over the place. I don't know. It was completely different, and of course, it's not what Negatives ever could or what we want it to be. But just I was trying to really, and I haven't successfully done it yet. But think of what it was about that little town. I think it was mostly that there were people out and about that made it seem so vibrant and full of life.
Yeah.
People just weren't inside their cars or inside their houses. And I think we talk a lot about walkability, but nobody really likes to walk, especially out in the hot sun. But I think by walkability, I think we just mean to set it up so that it's easier for people to see their neighbors. Like Jennifer Simpson and I share a driveway, and we don't have garages. We don't have garages or garages. In fact, we have a little bit of trouble when it rains because we have a little mud there to deal with. But I see Jennifer, most days, and we talk, we have a relationship. If I need something, she needs something. I've lived in houses where I haven't really ever see the people next door. And you in my house, you went in your garage, and you shut the door, and you went in your house, and you really didn't have much of a front porch. The new subdivision that's being built over at the end of Park Street, 143 houses. I saw pictures of the houses, and they're $200,000-$300,000 houses. They have a big garage out front, 2-car garage. Some of them have a little bit of a front porch, but mostly the door is set back behind the garage. There's no sidewalks. And not one of those lots is there even a half a lot or a small spot to have a picnic bench or a tree for the neighbors to sit and hang out. And the people in that neighborhood, all 143 of them when it's all built and lived in, I'm afraid that they will not have that sense of community that is what makes our city the vibrant and happy and connected place that it is and that we need it to be. And so really the sidewalks seem like a bit of a luxury, but I think they're, I know we're not the comprehensive plan, we're just downtown and we have sidewalks downtown, but I just think that making it, the little things we can think of that make it easier for people to be out of their cars and out of their houses in any kind of way, shape, or form, to say hi to other people is going to be small, but one of those things like Mario said that has a bigger impact than it seems like it would for what you invest in it. What do you call that? Some kind of a word for that. Something that you get far more back results than from what you put into it. So anyway, that's my story.
Cool. That's a good one. Anybody else go somewhere, see something that was neat?
I have 3 things.
3 things.
Kerrville, downtown Kerrville, I hadn't been there in 10 years. It's a very elevated experience.
Yeah.
Enhanced, almost, when you juxtapose it with Nacogdoches, it almost feels walkable, curated, intentional branding, and it was just an elevated experience.
Yeah.
Corpus Christi, I was there also. It's got 9 times the population we have. You can tell it's growing, it's sprawling, it's car dependent, it's concrete.
Yeah.
And that's also a kind of a warning for us, keeping it intentional, walkable, small scale.
The worst streets in the planet too.
Mm-hmm.
People complain about our streets, go to Corpus.
But just car dependent. you can't get anywhere without a
I
car.
always found it weird, Corpus is a place where every state association eventually has their meeting, and I go
like
speak at all the
convention.
state association meetings, and I always found it very interesting there, because, you're not really part of the group, so they all go to dinner and all, you do your little thing, and you're usually on your own, and it was the weirdest thing. It's everything you would need in a city to be booming, and I'm telling you, at 5:30, it's crickets downtown. It's just the weirdest thing, because it's right there on the water, and it's beautiful, and it's got everything it needs, and I'm saying, they're gone, because they're sprawling.
So the third thing is these words that I've noticed over the past year: bling, antiques, glamour, boutique. They're misnomers.
Yeah.
And yet you see them in small town Texas.
Yeah,
When I see those, it's got a connotation of decline.
yeah, yeah,
For me, it does.
Yeah.
So really being intentional with our branding,
yeah.
our storefronts is important.
Cool. Good input. Jessica's getting that all written down, right? Good job. Anybody else? Roy?
Oh, go ahead, John. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't go anywhere, but the Texas Highways magazine has as its cover deal small towns, very small towns. And they focus on 10 of the good ones. They all have a commonality of human contact with each other. And a real lack of pretension, but each one has its own style. And if you want to look at that, I recommend it, and it tells you a lot of things that we can think about here.
Yeah.
And if you'll excuse me,
Sure,
I have to go to
I know you have the other meeting. He warned me in advance, and so that's good. Let's see, I think Roy had some.
What, since the last meeting, I've been to 2 different locations where they were basically business. One of them was in TML seminar. The seminar was in Schertz, Texas, and we stayed in a hotel in Live Oak. Now, both of those in the metro area, and like Live Oak, their population is a lot less than in Nacogdoches. But their infrastructure is so much, it's beautiful there.
Yeah.
And the streets are, you can ride on them on a bicycle.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of parks, but their budget is probably 3 times what Nacogdoches is, because they are in the metro area of Austin.
Business, yeah.
So, and all of their homes are new, subdivisions are new and well taken care of. And the other place I went to for CASA was Driftwood. Now, Driftwood is in the middle of nowhere. But if you wanted sort of an ideal place to be away from something, that would be the spot. And it's hilly, and it's not much grass, and it's not a lot of trees, but it's scenic. So.
That's good. Perky?
I really went for the cemetery, but then we went downtown to downtown Jefferson this past Saturday, and downtown Jefferson isn't shined up and sparkled up, but by golly, they had people left, right, and center. We were there at 2 o'clock on the afternoon. We weren't in the lunch rush or anything. And everything was hopping, every restaurant had lines, all the shops were going, they have neat stuff, they have preserved, quantity a bit more, but it's not, they haven't invested a whole bunch to really polish it up. But boy, they have their marketing and their signs and they have businesses.
Yeah.
And they're open and ready to take your money. And the people just walking up and down those streets was pretty impressive.
With
So,
bags in there.
Were you on the right side of the highway or the left side of the highway, traveling north?
we did not actually go on the highway because I was checking out more cemeteries, so I never hit 59. But
Okay. Well, I've been there several times and I always got amazed at that town. They would tell you on the right side of the highway was Old Town and on the left side
Yes.
was Today.
Yeah.
And I found that
Yeah,
pretty
so
true.
we were,
too.
we were in the historic
So
part.
you were at the cemetery?
Yeah.
Checking out the people?
Yeah. But they do that even with that huge, what, we were joking as we were crossing it, 7 train tracks close to downtown, and they still pull it off, so.
Anybody else?
Just to add to Jefferson, I was there too. And beautiful, I was on the right side, so downtown. Accessibility to walking, just unbelievable. I mean, you just felt really comfortable. And it was just a neat place, like I say, restaurants, and it just packed. Just everywhere. Little small town.
Progress never got in the way there.
That's right.
Good. Anybody else?
Well, I was in Van, and there's not much that's changed in Van for the 1,000 years I've been away from there, but my little granddaughter's now teaching school there, and she's seen it from a different view than I see it. I told her before she moved there was nothing to do there, and she's found all sorts of things, so I guess I need to visit with her about what's changed. I overlooked all the changes.
See it with different eyes, she does.
I'm gonna see, I'm touring College Station, not from a college standpoint, but from a convention standpoint, Friday of this week, so I'll look and see what I see different there.
Good. Anybody got another one?
I was in Tulsa and in their kind of downtown area, and one of the things I noticed is because it's an old city, there were lots of trees around where we were walking, and it was so nice because it's, summer when we're there, and the shade was such a, we were going from each of the shade spots, and just when we talk about walkability, I think we have to really think about that as well, because as nice as it is in the late fall, winter, early spring, we still have summer that we have to move around.
Yeah.
So thinking about shade and trees and places to stop and rest that are pretty and nice.
And even canopies and overhangs and things of that sort too.
Oh yeah, I saw a picture recently of Nacogdoches that had all of those overhangs that all the people walking down, they were all in the shade, and I was like, that must be really nice to walk downtown and have shade.
I noticed that when we were on our Colorado trip this year, all the little ski villages, they have lots of canopies like that. And of course, I'm there in the summer, I'm thinking the shade's really nice. And there was a Chamber of Commerce person came up and they were doing a survey and asked if they could ask me a few questions. And so they asked me a few questions. I was interested to see what kind of things they're asking. And I got Jana a lovely tote bag for answering it because I was not going in the toy store again. And I said something about the canopies, and he said, "Well, for us, it's really because of the snow." And I was like, "Oh yeah, we don't have that problem much." but so it's kind of interesting. Anybody got any questions or concerns? And other than we don't make as we go slower than we all want to go, and we all want to get to the good stuff and come up with a plan, but anybody got any concerns or input on process? If you got a question, missed something, anybody got anything there?
I guess I do, maybe. On the canopies and stuff, years ago, I thought are you the Historical Society?
Well,
With them, kind of, sort of?
The NHA, are you talking about the Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission?
Yeah, how you couldn't put awnings or
It
things.
depends. It depends on the building. Oh, really? You can or you can't. It depends.
But you bring up a really valid point there that I want to remind us that today, not just city ordinances, but commission ordinances, etc. Just because something we think of doesn't mesh up with that doesn't mean that we can't still suggest it and move forward, because things do change, over time. And so, like for instance, canopies is an easy one. There may be 10 buildings downtown that can have them and 10 that can't. But if it's important to us and it ends up in our plans, that's something that down the road, those things can change too. It doesn't mean that, well, we can't do that today because we don't know what we can or can't do. It's like.
Well, I thought maybe if it was a canvas canopy versus a permanent.
Right,
Yeah.
not part of the building, it's something that the city added for shade, like you would plant
Right.
a tree.
It depends on the building. That's all I'll say. It depends on the building.
One of the towns I was in Colorado, and they did this during COVID, and they've decided to leave it that way. They went out into the parking space in front of the building, and they look professionally made, and they're not containers, but the bottom of it looks like the bottom of a container, and there's a deck and there's railings around it, and they can put tables and chairs there, but the roof of it covers that and then extends over to the building, and it's not even attached to the building. This is something sitting in the street that causes the sidewalk. So there's, let's not give up on a neat idea if it's important to us just because of rules and regulations today. To be honest, nothing personal, Mr. Bolton, but that'll be your problem. I mean, at the end of the day, we need to suggest what we think's best for our town, and then the city and the associated commissions that planning and zoning and all that kind of stuff, then they have to kind of wade through that and figure out what can and can't be done. Remember the last downtown plan, had downtown, the Main Street shut down, and ultimately it wasn't possible because of the state of Texas. So what? We put it down and we see what happens.
One of the things about the campus, Kennedy's Jewelry Store, I don't know if anyone remembers where that is, but when I worked for Kennedy's, it was my job to just watch case and all that type of stuff on the student floor. But I had a morning and an evening job, and that was roll that canvas out and make sure I rolled it back in.
At the night, yeah. So.
Canvases are permanent.
Yeah. Mario?
One piece of input about the process that I discovered recently, I spoke with an architect in a city here in Texas, and he reminded me that their master plan fell through, was challenged, and now they're trying to grow without a master plan, and they're really struggling. They can't control different types of growth. They don't have direction, and the fact that they don't have a master plan is putting them 10 to 15 years behind
Oh, so people are just going wild, aren't they?
the curve because they don't have a current master plan.
Yeah.
So I was surprised to hear that it's more commission meetings, it's more city meetings, because they're having to piecemeal every single development.
And they probably don't have a historic overlay like we have for several.
Yeah. Well, I know that I'm lucky because we have banks in different places, and so I get to go to these places, lucky me. But it's been interesting to watch Louisville, because Louisville, very similar, didn't have a master plan, et cetera. When Jan and I first met and were dating, and you went to Denton, you didn't do anything in Denton because there was nothing to do. You went back to Louisville because it was the cool place. And then over our long-term relationship, Louisville, the city moved from downtown, nothing. It was horrible. And then the city actually made a commitment, bought some land downtown, went back, built City Hall downtown. They launched a strategic planning process, got it covered. Lucky us, they actually took our building from us. But made it easy for us to buy another piece of property downtown, so we're still a downtown bank. But it really was, I was able to see that over a 40-year window of a city that just got lucky and was doing well, and then all those places like Frisco and Plano and McKinney blew up. Denton eventually blew up, and nobody was doing anything in Louisville, and it cratered. And then they got together as a community and said, no, if all these other cities can do it, we can do it too. And they redefined themselves, and it is absolutely booming there now. So, review of the schedule for September. We've got several public events, so I'm going to call on Jessica.
Yes. So just to remind y'all, all of our events are on our Act Together website. So if y'all have any questions or have friends that have questions, send them there. We've got all the details listed. So what I left in your little spot is our schedule for next week. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We have events all 3 days. So what I put on here, what is highlighted, is the stuff that we would like y'all to attend if you're able. I don't expect every single one of you to attend every single one of these events, but at the same time, if you can attend, that'd be wonderful. So Monday, and this is all stuff that DTJ will be in town. They're running the show. I get to sit back and participate, which is super exciting. But Monday, we start off, there is a downtown focus group. That's something that we've sent invites to some of our downtown property owners, downtown merchants, people that work downtown, live down there, have vested interest in downtown. So that's been like our other focus groups, kind of invite only, still open to the public. So if y'all want to come watch, But we're specifically not inviting members from this committee because DTJ talks to y'all and y'all have kind of an in with them, so we want to get some other opinions and information. So that will be Monday. Monday also from 3 to 4:30, there will be a downtown walking tour. We're all going to meet at the CVB, just right in front. If it is hot or something like that, we can meet in the basement to kind of kick it off. This is not like a historic walking tour or anything like that. I can start off and give a little bit of history, but really it's going to be inviting y'all, members of our Main Street Advisory Board, Historic Landmark Preservation Committee, and then some of the people that came to the downtown focus group that morning, and really walking the consultants around saying, I'm concerned about this corner. It's not ADA accessible, it needs green space, or I love this architecture, we can't touch this building ever, you know, or looking at some of our empty buildings, brainstorming what we could do. So no decisions are being made, but really it's our chance to walk DTJ around and say, here's what I want you to look at while you're in town. We will also have a public meeting at the Hotel Fredonia on Monday night. I'm going to be more slap out by that point, but it'll be fun. So this is similar to what we did over at NISD 2 weeks ago with the comp plan group, where we're going to have a public meeting. People can come, look at maps, draw on them, talk to our consultants. There's some live polling that we do on our phone, which was super fun last time, where they're going to ask a question and you kind of click on your phone, like, these are the things that matter to me downtown, or this is the topic I'm most passionate about. And so we'll do that with our consultants. Everybody's invited to participate. It's interactive. It's about a 2-hour meeting.
How many of you went to the one at the high school? Just, I can't remember. It's really pretty neat because you get instant feedback. You can see what people are thinking. I mean, they're using the app on the phone and the results are going up. As you do it, you can watch them go up and all. It's really pretty neat. It generated some real thought, I think.
It's not like watching horse racing. It was kind of
Yeah, it was cool.
I felt like I was betting on my favorite topic. So we'll do that at the Hotel Fredonia. It's in the convention center, same place they have Rotary. So we're excited about that. Tuesday is our design charrette. So this will actually be going on all day long over at the Cole Art Center. It's where DTJ is going to take over the second floor of the Cole Art Center. They're going to have their maps, they're going to draw, design, kind of play with some different stuff downtown. And then from 12 to 2 on Tuesday and Wednesday, they're going to invite the public to come. And they'll have some maps drawn out like, hey, we said we should put green space here, here, and here. Do y'all love it, hate it? Would it be better somewhere else? Or like, hey, I love this green space, but we need a water feature, or there's not enough parking there. So really just kind of brainstorming a lot of things and then getting some feedback from the public.
And I'm going to interrupt there for a second. That's a check and balance place because, you know, when we had them here last time, we talked about they had those quadrants defined and our map had shown going over towards Shawnee Street because it's in that, I know it's not the red square mile, but that's what I always call it, the original square mile. And so we need to go to one of these meetings and make sure they've included that because we were clear, they were receptive, they understood that. So, you know, we can hold them accountable there to some extent.
Absolutely. And that'll be the same type. Yeah.
Is this different timing from what was previously shared on their PowerPoint?
Yes.
That Francois shared?
Yeah, the only time, there's a few times it got shifted, mainly because we had like the original public meeting was on September 20th. We got a really big council meeting on the 20th, so we kind of shifted it so we wouldn't be trying to pull audiences 2 different ways. So these are the final times. And then the same things on the website and all that kind of stuff. We also had to shift the public portion of the design charrette because Cole Art Center didn't have enough staff for us to open up earlier in the day, and they didn't want people walking through the downstairs gallery with no gallery assistants, which is understandable. So we did have to shift it a little bit, but these are our final times. A lot of it was just based on staffing, other council meetings, stuff like that. So also on Tuesday, from 3:30 to 4:30 at the Cole Art Center, we're gonna have kind of that feedback meeting. So if you come during the day from 12 to 2, it's kind of like, I love this, I don't like this, I'd rather this moved over here. And then 3:30 to 4:30, it's kind of an invite only for this committee, HLPC, Main Street, and some of our downtowners to kind of say, here's what we came up with today, here's what we heard from the public, y'all like it, that kind of stuff. So a lot of this is that big feedback loop that we talked about, that Miles mentioned as well.
And that's back in City Hall.
No, that one is at the Cole Art Center as well.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yes, that one's at the Cole Art Center. Wednesday is kind of the same setup, where it's 12 to 2 is kind of our public view of the design charrette, and then 4 to 6 is kind of that feedback meeting.
But in the community.
Yes, this one will be in the CBTX community room just because they'll have more information, and also some of that shifting with the Cole Art Center schedule, they can stay open until 6. for us. So that'll be at Miles' shop.
So I guess I'll be staying at work till 6, huh?
Yeah, you might stay there till 6, sorry, but at least on a Wednesday and a Friday this time. So we'll have that, so I would love if y'all could attend all of these meetings, some of these meetings, you know, Tuesday and Wednesday will kind of be a repeat of each other, just so we wanted people that could come on Tuesday to come on Wednesday. So we'd love for y'all to come, we'll have our little sign-in sheets and all that kind of fun stuff, but that's what we have coming up next week. So it's gonna be very busy, please tell your friends, but it should be good, and all of this information is also on Knack Together. We kind of explain on there as far as what a design charrette is, because most people don't know that term, because it's a very industry term, so we start out our event description of, here's what a design charrette is, and then here's what we want you to do at it.
I would encourage you on that 6 to 8 public meeting on Monday the 19th. The first one we had probably 50, 60 people
We had
plus,
62.
plus, you know, us, staff and, you know, committee members and things like that. You know, if you got a neighbor that's been griping about this, or you got a neighbor that's been just filling your ear full of, I got all these great ideas, try to get them to come to that. That's a great place to capture that, for them to see where we are, to feel like they have input. That first meeting, you know, there were some, you know, there's this interactive text thing going on. There were people saying they're talking and we don't get to have input. Well, they got a system where they work down through it, and it ends up with an open mic time period even, and those people got to say their piece, and so good and bad. And so really encourage you, if you know folks that are, you know, still concerned or confused or don't understand the process, or, you know, curious or vibrant with great ideas, try to get them to come there, because that's a great place to capture some of that.
And the cool thing about that meeting that we had at the high school, me and Miles both talked about it, there's people that came in that room that I've never seen in this town before.
It was the weirdest thing, because I'm supposed to know everybody in town, you know, and I was like, who are these people? I've never even seen them, you know? I mean, they didn't even look familiar.
Which was awesome. Because I mean, I worked for the city since 2008 and been in a lot of groups, and some of these people were like, I've never laid eyes on that person, and we went through, we're like, hey, how did you hear about this? Which is great.
And it was neat, and we're going to talk about the survey in a little bit. We're going to have to do some work to try to get better diversification on our survey responses. But that particular meeting at high school, it was a little bit of everything. I mean, you could see there were, you know, people that are having a hard time, you know, buying a gallon of milk, and there were people there that drove up in their Range Rover. There were every color, shape, and size. There were some young people there that and they weren't there like an assignment from a class or something, because they had their mother with them, or, you know, something like that. And so that was pretty neat representation. So the more of that we can get out there, the better off we are too. And you'll see a little bit, in fact, next. No, not next, but in a minute you'll see the survey results are good. We're getting some good information, but, you know, they're doing analytics on them, and we're getting a lot of comments from white folks, you know, and we got to do better than that at bottom line. So, okay, you got some outreach events you want to talk about?
Yes, and so these are kind of our man on the street events we talked about real early on in the process. This is where people from Civic Brand, who are outreach sub-consultants, part of TJ, are coming to pre-established events that already have a good audience, and they're going to be walking around with our Knack Together t-shirts on, asking people, kind of like got asked in Colorado, like, hey, fill out this survey, have you been to the website, like, tell me your thoughts about downtown, or the comprehensive plan.
We're having a thing on September 24th in Festival Park. Do you think we could have some people go down
Is that
there?
the hoops one?
Yeah.
Yes, I told them about that yesterday when I realized they were on the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's, I need to confirm, but I think there's 4 different people from Civic Brand coming, and so they kind of said, hey, if it's different times of the day, or if there's different things, like, we can spread them out, because it's also, SFA has a home game, so they're gonna not be there the whole time, but they'll be kind of back and forth. But, so Art Fest in particular, it was kind of funny when I was talking to them, I was like, well, what do we need to do for the booth? And they're like, oh, we're walking around, we don't need a booth. I'm like, I already scheduled a booth, so we're gonna have one. So for Art Fest, I do need volunteers, if anybody has any time. We're gonna have a Knack Together booth, we've got some stuff to give away, I've got kind of an interactive art project that I'm planning on doing since it's Art Fest. We're gonna have our Knack Together logo and ask the kids to color it in, and then ask the parents to write some comments around it, like what they love about downtown, what they want more of. So to make it a little bit more interactive. But we'll have, Art Fest is what I put up there, but, you know, they'll be at the hoops tournament, they'll be at the SFA game, kind of walking around.
And there's also here at the rec center, the Rise Up pop-up market. for women and minority-owned businesses. It'll be from 10 to 3, so if anyone knows someone.
It's
might
here,
know anything.
it's here in this building.
Here in this building, in the rec center, the gym. But
It's
yeah,
big.
businesses that'd like to put up a booth there, you should, yeah, Brandy.
I'm working the hoops
I know, right?
tournament. Too many things.
But anyway,
Well, the good news, there's no way the booth at the Art Fest will be any hotter than the one at Blueberry Festival.
That is.
And it's a shorter day and all that sort of stuff. So, and I sent out a sign up genius link to y'all. So if y'all go in there and click, we are asking people from comp plan to sign up as well, and we'll have city staff there too.
And you'll send that out again.
Yes, and I will send it out again. And then G&L's and Muertos, same type of thing. They'll be walking around, but we're also gonna have a booth that day. So if we get y'all to sign up for that, I have not sent that one out yet. But y'all bring up a really great point. There's so many things happening in this town and so many events, festivals, places we can set up booths, stuff like that. This is just what we have pegged as of right now. If there's other things y'all are doing or have events you want us to come to, it may be me, it may be Miles, it may be some of our city staff, other committee members. You know, we can set up booths at anything y'all come up with. Mario invited us to the,
Heritage
yeah,
Festival.
Hispanic Heritage Night for NISD. So we'll set up there as well. So it's not limited to just this. This is just, we're gonna have Civic Brand on hand doing very specific questions. But you know, if it's, you know, the Rise Up Market or Hispanic Heritage Night, you know, we can set up a booth at those things.
Yeah.
And I think it's real important, like you're talking about the minority business owned.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's the Hispanic heritage. I think it's real important. You're gonna see in the survey, we're not, you know, we're not getting the feedback we want there yet. And we have a responsibility as committee members to kind of work to try to make that happen. And so it doesn't have to be the Blueberry Festival. I mean, it can be smaller groups that are unique for populations, and we just got to try to get to those folks too, because you know there's no telling who's got the best idea, and we got to go find it.
We're also working on getting into the SFA's Acts and Acres that they're starting, which is kind of like a tailgate but for businesses type thing. So we're working on that because we're trying to get more student populations and talk to them. So if y'all have any events that you want us to have a booth at, I may not be able to attend every one, but I can give you all the stuff for it. If you're already gonna be at a table and you wanna have Knack Together stuff there, or if you wanna do a Knack Together table on your own, you guys are more than welcome to do that, and I can supply you with all of the stuff you could possibly need.
And I know somebody has a booth there that you're welcome to use.
Is it you?
I'll get some stuff for a booth at the Ability Strong Festival.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a booth here for the market on the 24th?
I don't know if we'll have a booth, but we can definitely get somebody from DTJ over here to ask, or Civic Grid, excuse me, to do some of the surveys and ask questions, and we can have Virgin Knack Together stuff out here. Yeah.
I'll be here all day helping Maybelline, so I can, you know, if there's a table of our stuff.
I can help that day, I can't work all the time, but I'm.
Mario, you got something?
One idea I have for Art Fest is a graffiti wall
Okay.
with questions,
Uh-huh.
and then let people just write, because it is an art festival.
Yeah.
Get-
That was kind of my thought, but on a smaller scale, just because I didn't have the ability to build a graffiti wall. But I mean, we can do something like that where it's.
Or even a table, butcher paper,
Yeah, that's
with
great.
questions, and just get them to write.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, an advantage I found on the two booths like that I've worked is they're also asking the comprehensive committee to do these kind of things too. And so both times I was able to interact with somebody on the comprehensive plan committee and pick their brain and then pick ours. And one of them, it was a great joy because the person that was picking my brain and I was picking his, we don't agree on anything. And we couldn't fight because we were in the middle of the festival talking to people. And so, but it was really neat. It gave me a unique opportunity, you know, to hear their concerns. And I'll be honest with you, we have an advantage, and I've said this all along. Our downtown is neat. It needs to be neater. I mean, there's a lot we can do there, but it's not like we're starting from absolute nothing. You know, bless their heart, the comprehensive committee, first of all, it's a bigger, wider footprint. And, you know, we may be behind on some things in downtown and we can do better. But there's a lot of things that they're having to deal with that are way behind. And so their concerns are really different than our concerns. And it's good to have that interaction when you're sitting there in a booth, you know, waiting for somebody to walk up or walking around, just to pick their brains and I almost found myself in a pastoral care mode, because I'll be honest, a lot of their stuff is just depressing, because we don't have this and we don't have that, and before it was over with, I wasn't mad at the guy anymore. I was like, let me work you through this, give me your hand, I'll pat on top like a Methodist preacher, but it really, I think, gave perspective, to me, to think about what they're dealing with compared to what we're dealing with. And of course, it puts pressure on us because we ought to be able to succeed.
Yeah, so if y'all think of any other events, anything you come up with, holler at me and I will make sure you're set up, ready to go, because I would love to have, and it'd be nice if it wasn't just me, because y'all are plugged into your communities and you're already going to these events, people know your faces, so it's not me going to everything, it's y'all are all.
How many of you have visited the website? Raise your hand. Okay. Let's have a little fun here. How many of you visit the website at least once a week? How many of you visit the website daily? So really and truly, I would encourage you, because this is dynamic and it's changing very quickly, and man, we all got so many things going on, and it's easy to miss everything if you're not paying attention. And so I really encourage you, just take 10 minutes early in the morning or in the middle of the day at lunch or something, pop that thing up, look and see what's going on, and see if you can partake in it. What I've found, it's been really easy for me, because I'm sitting there at my computer and my calendar, and I can pull it up and I can go right to my calendar and say, well, I can't do that, oh, I can do that one. So I really encourage you to kind of visit that regularly if you can. So, well, speaking of that, let's talk about the survey and where we are and what we know so far, and you'll see the glaring opportunities that, as much as we talked about it, we still got opportunities.
Yeah, so this is our community visioning survey, so it's the first one we put out that y'all looked at. It's not closed yet, so these are just where we are now, or where we are as of the 7th. So we're not planning on making it open through at least the end of this month. We can extend it longer if we need it. But this is that big, broad survey. Thank you. It's a big, broad survey where it's like, what do you love about Nacogdoches? What's Nacogdoches mean to you? What do you want to see more of, less of, all that kind of stuff.
That was a great survey.
Does anybody see a problem there yet?
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, I told you it was glaring. I mean, it really is glaring.
Yeah, so as of right now, we've had 357 responses, which is actually pretty on course for a survey that's been out this long in this size community. So pretty good results there. As far as demographics, white or Caucasian is 85.96 of our responses. A distant second is Hispanic with 5.14. And just to put a caveat on that, these are not bad, this is not bad information. The people we heard from, it's great to hear from them, but we're just not hearing from everybody. So I don't want you to think we don't want to hear from all the white people or anything like that, but everybody on here is white or Caucasian, so we are obviously missing a big section of Nacogdoches.
And ideally, what we would want is, by the time we get through all of these surveys, the cumulative numbers over there, percentages, at the very minimal, ought to match the percentage of the Nacogdoches population that falls in one of those categories. And
What
so,
are those percents again?
I don't know
Who
them.
knows?
I can find them and
Yeah.
send it to y'all. I don't know off the top of my head. And so that's as far as demographics. So how long have you been in Nacogdoches? Of course, far and away, 21 years or more, which is not a bad thing. We have a lot of good input from people that have been in this community for a very long time. The second is 11 to 20 years, which again is not bad. It's just we're not hearing from very many people that just moved here, been here a short time. And then we had some who don't live in Nacogdoches City, maybe they live in the county, or they're visitors that have taken this, which is still fine because we want to know what our visitors think about Nacogdoches. And then our next one is how old are you? This one actually spread a little bit more than we thought it would, which is good. Our highest one was 35 to 44, and then the next one is 55 to 64. We're not getting as much 18 to 24, which means we're not getting a lot of SFA. And then 45 to 54, I was kind of surprised was that low, because usually that's our highest one demographics. But that's kind of where we are as of right now. And of course, this isn't, excuse me, if you actually match this up to how many people took the survey, it's not going to match, because there are people, there was 64 that skipped this question. We knew not everybody would give their demographic information, and that's fine. We try to get as much as we can. But this is where we are as of right now. So of course, we're looking to get more students, people that haven't lived here as long, anybody that falls into any other category other than white or Caucasian. Of course, we still want people to keep responding.
Can I say something though? The way that the race question is being asked, I can't remember, but you know there are non-Hispanic, non-white Hispanic people.
Yes.
And white is Hispanic race on the census. So I'm wondering if how that question is being asked is skewing data. Because I would put white and Hispanic.
Okay.
Because that's my census information, and that has skewed your data then.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can go back and look and see how it's being asked and see if that's something we need to adjust. Yeah, and I don't know off the top of my head exactly what the question says, because I filled it out a couple weeks ago, and I didn't want to take it over and over again and mess up people.
Just so you'll know this, y'all like pull this up while we're here. Population in Nacogdoches is 77.3% white, 18.3% Black African American, 1.6 Asian, Hispanic 19.1, non-Hispanic or Latino 59.2.
So it seems like they're clumped in.
Now, is this from all surveys that were filled out, no matter where, whether it was at Blueberry or one of the meetings or the public meeting?
Yeah, so
Is
this
this all of them combined together?
Yes, as of right now, except for Blueberry, because we asked that. Blueberry, we asked like 3 questions, so
Oh,
that
okay.
was.
But it includes all surveys at all venues?
Yes, it's all the surveys that have been filled out since we launched this
Okay.
one, which was in second week of
Whenever we
August.
started with our meetings and then the public meetings. so-
Well, yeah,
It's not the
All
meetings.
surveys.
Well, no, not all the meetings, so this one opened the second week of August. So we've done other surveys, have information, and that's calculated separately. This is just that online community visioning survey that we launched the second week of August, I believe it was. So it's been open 2.5, 3 weeks.
And that does explain the younger demographic, because that was summer, SFA wasn't in, you couldn't do events at the high school, they weren't in class, so that'll pick up some just by accessibility probably.
Yeah, and so this is just where we are right this second. So what we kind of do need is everyone to put our thinking caps on, or we're all still in the meeting together, and figure out some steps that each person's gonna take, so we can share the survey with people, send it to people, tell people in your church about it, tell SFA kids about it, stuff like that. Because we would like to close this survey hopefully at the end of this month. If we still haven't got any uptick and, taking it, then we'll extend it a little longer. But we would like to have a finite endpoint, because we are gonna have, we have a downtown survey that's open right now. We'll have transportation ones, housing ones, stuff like that. So we don't want to confuse people too much with having, 4 surveys open at the same time. So that's kind of where we are right now. And then, of course, we do have a downtown survey. It opened yesterday. It's the one that I sent out to y'all and said, everybody, tell me your thoughts, questions, that sort of stuff. We had about a 3-day response, translated, put it up. Thank y'all for responding, everybody who did. It's a very, very short survey. I think it's 12 questions, and then we had to have demographics at the end of it. It's also going to be a short-lived survey, so we open for about 2 weeks. A lot of it informs what we're doing next week, and then we use that feedback from the surveys in addition to what we do next week. So this will be kind of a shorter survey, and then we'll have one, I can't remember what the next topic is, but it may be transportation, maybe our next survey topic. But that'll be another one where we release it for 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe a month, and kind of cycle through those, because we do want to get more details, through the surveys. So that's where we are on that. But I would like us to look at these and figure out if anybody has any specific ideas, things we can tackle, how you can share it, just so that way we're not all asking the same people, or we still don't miss a huge swath of people.
Yeah, I would suggest to SFA you go to that and whatever the title is, the new Office of Diversity and Multicultural Affairs or whatever. It's over on the student affairs side. It's not academic, but student affairs. And you really need something coming out from them to all students. And I would assume, since that's the side that does life in town and life on campus, that would be the most appropriate to share with this. Who's over there? I have no idea, but there's...
My next question was, do you have a contact with them?
No.
Yeah, Shakara from Rotary. Shakara?
Okay.
Yeah, they started a whole new department there, so who the heck knows?
Jessica, I was just thinking, it might be time to roll out the big guns. And like the city could, I don't know if y'all were emailing this throughout the city departments? Because there's 340 employees right there.
Exactly, we announced at our manager's meeting the other day, I was like, fill it out.
And same thing with the school district, you could capture 1,000 employees, very
Exactly.
diverse in race, age, ethnicity, education,
Yeah.
and that would boost those numbers
Well,
with,
you
with
know-
partnership with the school district.
Yeah, and you might can have whoever's in charge of like the Facebook pages for like McMichael Middle School, Natchitoches High School, because I'm on all those and they post things all the time. It's usually pertaining to the school, but I mean, they would, I would think they would be willing to just post the link and say what it is, and then you would get a lot of, at least parents. That would, maybe not do it right then, but maybe half of them don't even know the website exists, you know?
Exactly. That's a
So,
great
I
idea.
mean,
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, in some of, we might be well served in some of these booths that we're going to, that we actually have some printed copies of that survey, because there are gonna be audiences that don't have access to computers, and they, you know, you may only be able to catch them right there at that event. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
yeah, and I don't know if you can have, I don't know, iPads or something available for people to do it. I mean, it seems like it's taking people 20 minutes. That's a long time to sit for a survey. But if they don't have access to the internet or to a computer, then
Do we have a QR code where they could just scan it and take it later?
Yes, we do, and we can print those QR codes on like cards they can take with them. We do have some that just take them to the general website, but we can have it printed to where it takes them directly to the survey. So we can
I
definitely
mean,
do
if
that.
you just
Or
have
you
that.
could take it to the
I
general,
think if you did it at school, you'd
the
get
general
a
site, and on the
census.
landing page, you could have,
yeah.
take survey here with
Yes.
the starburst or
That way
something like
it's
that.
not, yeah, it's not, you're not limited to use those just for that
Because
survey.
didn't we make a
Then
bunch of
magnets
those
or
business
something.
card ones with the barcode on it?
Yes, we have a bunch of the, business card sites that has a QR code, it takes you to the main page, and then the first thing on there says take survey.
That's good.
Crystal, you brought up a good point, because this was the first one, and it took 20 minutes, and I heard a couple
Yeah.
comments about the word association
Yeah.
part was what threw people off.
Okay.
That's a long time. I mean, I know a lot of people who would say I'm not spending 20 minutes to do a survey.
Yeah.
And I don't, maybe that's how long it has to be, but there are gonna be people who don't do it
Because they don't want to spend that
You
much
halfway through
time.
and quit.
Well, yeah, or they, and I don't know, I haven't taken it yet, but, is there a bar that tells you like your progress or anything? Like sometimes surveys do that, and then you look at the bottom and you're like, holy moly, I have 42 more questions to go, you know? Or you know, okay, I need to come back to this later. I mean,
I
because
think
20
on
minutes is a
the
long time.
first page it said not completed.
Yeah, there's the stat up there,
Yeah.
of those that started and didn't complete it.
Mhm.
It was like,
And that's still, you better have.
Completion rate,
Yeah.
Completion rate's 83%, which is not terrible.
That's not bad, it's
but
really
like,
not. But yeah, 22 minutes is, I mean, that's a long time.
I think one thing that we can work as a committee and help communicate to, we saw this with meeting in the box, the perception when we started doing those meeting in the box is that the only way you're gonna have to have input, you know? It's not, it's one of 30 different ways you're gonna be able to have input. Same thing here, there's gonna be, I can't remember the number, but there's like 15 or 20 surveys, because there are gonna be surveys, like the downtown one is specifically just about downtown. It is not a 20-minute one, it's, you know, a 5-minute one. And so I think we have to help communicate in the community that take every survey. If you open it up and say, I've already taken this one, great, just don't go to the next one, you know? But I think some of them will be longer, some of them will be shorter, but the reality of it is there's gonna be a bunch of them before it's over with.
And another thing too, to tell people just before, if you can, just say, you don't have to think a whole lot about this. You don't have to spend, you don't have to agonize over every person.
Right.
Yeah,
Just
what you
answer
think,
it.
right, answer, go on, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah,
You can
that's
do
one of
it.
the things about the survey, we designed it so if you don't fill out a question, it doesn't
Stop.
give a hiccup, like you can skip past it, you know, like to fill out everything, but I'd like to at least fill out something.
Yeah, if you're stuck on one, just skip it, or just put anything down and go on.
Yeah, because there's much input.
Yeah.
There's a question. See, and that's pretty long. It says
I thought it was a really fun work.
When I look at the African American community not responding, I think a lot of times it goes back to the trust factor. I'm not for sure that I need to do this now. And so I think we have to really reach out. And one of the things on the focus group we're doing, that we're reaching out and going out to the community. You know, some of the church groups, trying to explain to people that it's okay to, you know, to respond. So I think it's a trust factor that's been there. And then they always, sometimes also say, well, no, I did that before, but nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not, you know, it's just one-sided.
Yeah.
And so this is a lot of work we're going to do to build that trust back and get that trust into where people will respond.
Yeah.
They'll have better response from African American, and I'm sure Hispanic too.
Well, and I'll be honest, I mean, you know, and Roy talked about this last meeting, I think, that trust factor and things of that sort, and that's where we're gonna, you know, we're gonna have to rely on y'all to get, and that doesn't mean I need y'all to go out always and do it, but you're gonna know people that folks will trust. And we gotta get them roped in as quickly as possible to help us. Same thing, I mean, Mauro, you can only go to so many things, and you go to twice that many, but you can't do 5 times as many of that. But you're gonna know people in the Hispanic community that are trusted, that can be, Evelyn, you can help there, that can be warriors for us. But I mean, I think that's part of our responsibility, is saying yes to being on this committee, was not that we have to do everything, but we have a responsibility to make sure that we get the people involved that ensure that at the end, every community within our total community has had great opportunity to give input.
Well, you know, it's also a matter like subject matter.
Yep.
I know some others that pull up the survey, first thing it says, start talking about downtown.
Yeah.
African Americans don't visit downtown very often.
Yeah.
And probably the 80-some%, and then it drops down to like 8% for African American.
Mm-hmm.
That's about average as to how many blacks attend downtown.
Yeah.
Then go to the bank, beside the bank, probably nothing else.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of subject.
Yeah. And that'll be interesting to see as we go to some topical surveys, like, you know, I don't know, transportation, you know. Do we see that number spike because of content? You know, we don't know that until we do some of it.
And one thing I can do, I can send out the survey link again, all of our graphics, stuff like that. So if y'all can share it on your personal, if you do social media, share it on your personal stuff. If you know people that deal with, you know, do social media or websites or groups, organizations, if y'all can forward that on to them, because like Miles said, I don't have inroads everywhere. So I mean, I can post it on that city Facebook page until my hair falls out. But at the same time, it's the same people that look at that page. So if we can cross-post things, if we can email it out to your groups, you know, if you have a mailing list that you think they want to be included for this kind of stuff, you can send that to me and I can forward things out. And then also encourage them to go to the website and sign up for updates, because then they'll get pinged every now and then, like, hey, we have a survey up, or hey, we're doing an event. We don't spam people with a ton of stuff. They're not going to get emails about like, hey, we have a cool article we want you to read or anything like that. It's very like, there's a survey or there's an event or here's a chance for you to be involved. So I think we encourage people to do that, and I will send y'all all the stuff, and if you can help spread that far and wide, that would be wonderful. And then if there's something, whether it's, you know, hey, we want to get this information out to a church group, but they don't use social media, I need a printed flyer, I can print it for y'all. Just whatever you tell me you need to get out to your certain groups, I'm happy to do that.
And I don't want the committee members right now to get frustrated. We are in kind of the mundane, not fun part of it, where we're trying to get as much feedback as possible, and just giving you the overarching reminder of how that works. As that comes in, you know, DTJ is taking that information, you know, that map that they showed that you pointed out the quadrant that was missing, that came from all those maps we did in here, you know. If you remember that walking trail where they're trying to develop more walking around the rest of Lanetta Creek or Bonita Creek, you know, what happens is they put that stuff together and they begin to say, based on the feedback, here are the ideas we're hearing. Then it gets fun for us because we step in and say, well, wait a minute, you didn't hear us on this one thing, or you didn't hear us on this other thing, or that's not what we were thinking. And it's just, we've got a little time period here where it's just muddy, and we just got to get as much input as possible. And then we pay them to sift through that and present it to us. And then that's where we get to start having some control on, we're missing this, or that's a great idea, or something of that sort. Susan?
I'm trying to, with the black community or the Hispanics, if you could put flyers at restaurants or something like that, where they have time while they're waiting for their meals. You know, if you could just have, and I don't know how you target that group,
Yeah.
but try to target hey, we're interested in what your community has to say about downtown. You know, so you could target them a little bit more so they would, instead of knack together what, you know, if you're saying they don't trust us or whatever, how can you draw them in?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to target them a little bit to get them to fill out the, you know, whether it's the grocery stores isn't a good spot, but someplace where they're having to wait, just, you know, that 5 minutes where they're like, what's this?
Are we gonna do a meeting similar to what we did at the high school, anywhere south of town?
We don't have one yet, but this is only our first 2 big public meetings, and so that was one of the things we brought up with the consultant, that we wanted to do something on the south end of town. Because we've kind of progressed, you know, we did the high school in the north end of town, we'll do Hotel Fredonia kind of in the center, and then we're looking for a good location, because some of it's, you know, a lot of the infrastructure, like our big meeting rooms are in the north end of town, or we're in downtown. So we're gonna find a place, hopefully on the southern end of town, or if there's a place y'all know of, that like, hey, this would be a great place for a community meeting, we can do that as well.
I think we ought to do one at the Hispanic church. You know, not a Hispanic church, but like, we know for a fact that the Catholic Church has an entire Hispanic service.
Services.
That's a big.
You know, it's kind of like you talk about going to the school district. You got a captured group of 1,000 people that's pretty diversified. I think there's some places like that. I'm sure, you know, one of the challenges with the black churches is there's 50 of them. You know, there's not the mega one, so you're going to either have to get to all 50 of them or find a place, you know, and there are other Hispanic churches in town than the Catholic Church, but I just know that's a huge service with lots of people, easy to get to. If the church would embrace it, even if we physically held a public meeting there, it's a place they're comfortable coming to.
What about the E.J. Campbell building? Isn't that like a community center?
Yeah.
Is it not big enough?
No.
Okay.
But normally, when there's going to be a large event for the African American community, it will be at the time they were back at church.
Okay.
Installed.
Okay.
21.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So what about the Concerned Black Men's Association? Couldn't they distribute to that? Could they, GW, don't you go to that?
I looked at GW, I was like, GW.
Or some of the larger African American churches?
When is your big annual event?
Is it February?
Okay. I mean, you know, let's keep that in mind too, because that's a space and a place
That's right.
that's really pretty diverse. It's not just the Concerned Black Man, it's the community coming together with that. And that might be a good place to have a booth set up beforehand or something.
No, one of the places I was thinking that, Roy, that, you know, I know our barber shops, get a lot of guys coming in.
Yeah.
And, you know, barber shops. And so we'll reach out to those, with Elizabeth Lyons. I'm gonna be back at them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and especially like the flyers, like you mentioned, some of the restaurant stuff like that, it may be, if y'all have ideas, I'll have flyers printed up here because I can't be everywhere at once. And I get stuck here at the office sometimes, but you know, if y'all have places you think of, call me and say I need 20 flyers and I'll have them printed. And if y'all have inroads or even if you don't know somebody, you just want to show up and say, hey, I have this cool flyer, we can hang it up when we're doing a great project, that would be very helpful.
Hospitals, doctor's room.
Okay.
Yeah, why
I
not?
mean, any place where you have
Evelyn,
to
did you have
sit
something?
and wait.
Yes, I was gonna say that I can also, if you print out some flyers, there's other local Hispanic places. I can go and put those in, and then we actually had our first Hispanic committee, which is committee members, parents, and NISD staff, and we have about between 25 and 30 members. So we can bring this to our next meeting, which is going to be in October the 11th, actually. And then we're also going to have our district-wide Hispanic Heritage Festival at my Michael Middle School, which is the entire district. It's just Hispanic. I mean, everyone is welcome, but it's going to be so much fun. But then we can also have a table or even provide information. Like we can right now to parents, because we're going to give a package for parents. And part of that purpose for that festival is parent community engagement. So this is a great connection.
Yeah. A quick question, Jessica.
Could we do a meeting in a box with the
We can
next
do that, yes.
next month?
Yes.
with that Hispanic group.
Are you planning to do anything at the county fair, Jessica?
I had plans on it, we could.
Over the 14 is surprise.
Well, our pilot club's gonna have a booth up there. If we had questionnaires, I could have them at our booth.
From 5.
Jessica, is a survey in Spanish and English?
Yes, it is.
I assumed, but I figured I should ask.
Yeah, all of our surveys, will be released at the same time, English and Spanish versions, because we don't
So
want
they'll
one
be
of the
at
things like,
both?
yes, we have both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they're both, when you go, to take the survey, I would do it, but our internet's acting wonky. You click take the survey, you can click English or Spanish.
Perfect.
And so, yeah, it's the same thing translated.
You know, Friday night, I'm on the Education Foundation for the school district, and we're passing out a lot of information Friday evening. The parents, as they walk in, from 6 to 7:30, we're gonna be passing out as much information as we can. I'd like to just see if we can do that also with the survey.
Is the Chamber of Commerce still doing those mailer fly-out thing, the stuff, the envelopes thing?
I think they do them
Yeah,
once
I
a
do them
month.
But wouldn't that be something that having kind of something about both plans going out would be an effective way?
Yeah, and I think the chamber lets the city do it for free as long as we bring some hands to help stuff, so I may call some of y'all to give me to help stuff some envelopes. But yeah, I can call them and make sure, because I
The
think.
chamber does that monthly mail.
Is it yeah, monthly. So remember the last time we did it was for like beefsteak or something, and they said, you can do it, you have to come stuff them. I'm like, all right.
Well, if
You
you
know,
don't
that's-
help stuff it.
That's
we'll see
another
how
thing
works.
that-
If you help stuff it, you don't pay, isn't that right?
We
I think so.
We could also reach out to the Chamber of Commerce, and see if we couldn't, combined with the comprehensive plan, be the topic for like an eggs and issues or something like that, where we gave an update of where we are and the ways you can be involved. And I really highly recommend that we ask that both of the vice chairmen of each committee do that. That'd be great.
Well, he passed that. But they're always looking for programs, Mike.
Betty, people are tired of listening to me. I was trying to get them somebody new.
We'll both volunteer, Greg.
All right.
I wanna hold that baby. Does she?
So that gets you enough ideas to
Yeah,
take the
that's,
next
I got a whole
step?
page of ideas now. That's awesome, y'all. But yeah, like I said, I may be sending out emails to y'all like, hey, I have a stack of flyers, please come get them. If y'all have inroads in there, or, if you need printed surveys, printed flyers, if you need all the graphics for social media, I can send you whatever you need. And then I'll start on this list.
Okay, well, let me add this.
Mhm.
I'm sitting here thinking about the mail out for the chamber. I think they do charge unless you stuff. But since this is something to help our community, let me ask if we can include something as soon as the next mail out would be October or November, whenever you want to put it in there. And I'll check and see if we can do it. Several of us would just have to help go stuff. And that doesn't take very long.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
If Miles and Greg go help us stuff, it won't take long.
And I've done that a few times with beefsteak. Yeah.
Oh, Betty.
Well, I'll-
You know how you tell Betty no? You don't.
Don't do it.
Yeah, so that gives me a lot of good information, good inroads. I'm very excited about this. I appreciate that. And then, like I said, we have our downtown survey launched yesterday. Y'all looked through it, but it's live on the website.
Did you say you sent that to us?
I emailed it last week, the week before, and I got some responses.
She did,
No, I think she's asking, have you sent the live?
Oh, no, sorry, I haven't
The
sent the
launch.
live survey to you yet, no.
Oh, okay.
But I sent y'all the draft, and a few people have sent me back some edits, and we translated it, things like that. So no, I have not sent this out because it went live last
Okay,
night.
you've not sent that out.
No, I have not sent that out to y'all to take, but I will send it out first thing tomorrow morning. So please, or you just go to the Dtac website, it's on there right now. We'll start sharing that. Some of this will inform our event next week, and then we'll leave it open for another week after that. So that way they'll combine all of that input to talk about downtown, and then we'll kind of look at it.
Well, now, that survey, will you also send that to the members of the CVB and Main Street?
Yes.
The members will get that?
Yes, we'll send that out, to especially our boards that deal with downtown, but we also send it to all of our city boards. So like planning and zoning will get it, we'll send it out to all city staff. So we kind of spam our coworkers and boards with it first, and then we put it up to the general public, for them to take as well. So that will go out to them tomorrow as well. So, and
I'm
that's
anxious to
all
take
I
that.
have.
Our next meeting,
I don't know if I have
I think, thought I had it, but,
October 12th.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if if we stick with the plan.
That's what I've
October
heard.
Yep, October 12th, you're right, I got it in there.
October what?
October
12th.
12th.
Same time here, 3:30.
Yep.
And as you know, we try to be timely, starting and ending. And it's 4:45. You got anything else?
I have nothing else.
Well, anybody else got anything before we close? This meeting's closed, and thank y'all very much.